I'm dealing with my second little haircut from my daughter, my 12-year-old. My second Corona haircut. Did you see my bald spot?
I've been looking at that bald spot the whole time.
Yeah.
Randy.
So funny. I'm Josh Sigman, and I'm a mortgage lender. I'm also a geek for money, not just earning it and saving it, but literally everything about it. I love that money has rules. It has its truths. I love investment strategies, and I love making money work for us. For so many, money is emotional. For me, it's logical, like a puzzle. My passion is also helping others with their money. I love looking at people's finances, dissecting their puzzle, and rebuilding with strategy and purpose, and I'm really good at it. I'm making this podcast about my money strategies, not the things that are written in books or sold in programs. It's a podcast outlining the lessons I've learned and used for the past 15 years. These strategies help me and those who use them save more, give more, create wealth, and retire early. Let me teach you how to build your net worth. You ready? Welcome to Sigman Sense.
Okay.
So today we're gonna have a fun one.
Yes, this is so fun.
Second episode back from
Corona time.
time. And it's funny. I do feel very blessed. First of all, welcome back to Sigman Sense, episode X. I don't know which one this is.
Never can tell.
Thank you for liking and subscribing. Please share with your friends and family.
Tell them all.
And we're going to give you some entertainment today.
Yes,
because,
I can't wait.
Like I was saying, I do feel like I'm a very blessed individual. I know that I've had a ridiculous amount of success and luck in relationships and money since I've been alive. But that doesn't mean I didn't have lots of failures too, right?
Well, I think that's like what they say, right? I mean, anybody that has been incredibly successful, there's always the underbelly, right? There's always the bad crap that's happened. So
and no one ever talks about it, but they walk in water. So I want to be authentic and I want to be all transparent. I'm going to tell you about all the bad shit
and I just want to make him relive it all.
Yeah. So I'll cry myself to sleep. This may or may not be real coffee. This might be alcohol. We're not sure yet.
We're not sure. Can't tell. Surprise.
Right. But so, I've literally had a good friend of mine that looked me in the eyes one day and said, Josh, whatever you touch turns into gold. And I was like, Nope, I assure you of that. And so I just was sitting here talking with you about, what should we talk about? And, she's like, well, Bryn's like, well, we should talk about your bad investments. I was like, that sounds like a horrible idea.
Yeah.
But it took me like 3 seconds to write down 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of them that just came spewing of my memory, because these are over $1 million of losses I've personally taken in bad investments. And this is just the ones that come to the top of my mind. These are not the smaller investments that I've lost on. And I know that there's bigwigs out there that are doing commercial deals and losing tens of millions of dollars. And I said $1 million. But it's the same game, whether you're losing $1,000 or $100,000 or $1 million as a percentage of your income, right? So what I thought would be more valuable is to kind of describe some things I've done that were probably ill-advised or were preventable, or I could have had a better outcome. But also then to kind of look back and tell you what lessons I learned from that, because what's funny is when you asked me to write down like what some bad investments were, I don't know if you noticed, but the first thing I wrote down was what I learned.
You did,
The first thing I did was I was like, well, I learned this, I learned this, I learned this, I learned this, because those are the landmines that I would like all you guys to avoid, because there's some basic things that are in there that it's like, an idiot would have not set on a landmine, Josh, but you managed to do it. So I'm just telling you, there are some very easy and preventable things to help you keep your money. And then, so I'd like to go through both those. And then at the very end, and give you some of the final coup d'etat, final takeaways of what I think are the things I've learned through the experiences.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. And I don't know how you want to start this, would you like me to just start bearing my soul? Or do you have some questions about?
No, I want to know what the very first investment was.
Well, first, good one or bad one?
Bad, Josh. This is all misery lane.
Yeah, this is gonna be very painful. So my very first bad investment was actually a bad stockbroker.
A bad stockbroker.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it sounds weird to say that.
How old were you?
So I started cheating on Ron Anderson, who is a good stockbroker, with a guy that I will not disclose at a bigger shell bank, right?
Why did you move?
Because the guy was flashy and seemed like he was very successful, and he made a lot of money that I thought he made a lot of money, which is kind of some warning signs here.
Was he referred to you by someone?
I met him through somebody.
Okay.
But, I can't say that I had a good character reference. I can't say I had a bad character reference. What I would just say is that I was attracted to whatever he was portraying. So I've got boring Ron Anderson, and I say that lovingly,
yes,
Ron. I say that super boring, like from a standpoint of you stay the course. Like half of the lessons I probably taught on this, I probably learned from Ron along the way. So I really sincerely am saying Ron is one of the best humans in the world, but he's the boring, play by the rules, don't chase returns, stay the course. 6 to 8% is good. It's a long-term game. Don't freak out. Like all the boring shit. And I like risk. And I like, let's see what happens if I drive my car really fast over this hump in the hill.
Let's blow this mother up.
Exactly right. So I met the stockbroker, and so what I did, which was, I don't know if I referenced this on a different podcast, but I started for a period of about 5 years. It was him. There was actually 3 of them. This one is the one bad investment, but there were 3 guys. So 2 and Ron, I started giving equal amounts of money to.
Yes. Okay.
So I'd get, if I could save 3,000 that month, I'd give 1,000. If I could save 1,500 that month, I'd give 500.
Okay.
And I would do this, and I say that that's my first really bad investment because my gut instinct in the first year was a bad choice. That was my gut instinct. But I like people.
Right.
And I would say that a lot of people that listen to this really might like their advisor, whether it's a CPA or financial planner, an insurance agent or whatever.
Absolutely. And then you start to feel bad for even thinking about it. You don't want to move your money off.
Because the relationship you don't want to take from, right?
You want to hurt
and
feelings.
I think that's a really important starting point because, you're not going to probably get it right the first time, right? Like whoever your first CPA is, your first insurance agent, your first stockbroker, they're probably not the perfect fit.
Right.
The chances of the luck that you'd have for it to be perfect and the best at what they do for and understand your situation and be in a relationship with you and all those things is damn near impossible. So
yeah, no, mine definitely
what I
was
didn't
not
do
great.
was I didn't move money fast enough. So I kept on giving and giving and giving and giving and giving them. And at the end of 3 years, yes, I finally was at the point where I measured all 3 returns and losses because it was actually going through the 2007 timeframe at the time at the back end of it. So I got to see the good years, who was higher, and I got to see the bad years too, who lost more as well. And this guy consistently didn't make as much on the upswings and lost more in the downswings. And when I really started getting into it and diving into it and looking at the numbers, probably the 2 or 3 things I realized first and foremost. Number one, way higher fee schedule, higher fee schedule. So fees do matter. I've probably talked about this in several podcasts, but
is that something you typically ask in the beginning when you hire?
It's something that's disclosed. You usually don't ask after that, but different investments have different fee schedules.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Got it.
So,
okay.
And I don't want to get overly technical. Like, mutual funds, you might pay, A, B, or C cost or commission schedule, which is basically front loaded, split or back loaded, pay as you go, pay all up front. There's different arguments for what you should do.
Okay.
So I'll leave that to them. But bottom line was apples to apples across the board in kind investments, across the board, fee schedule higher, commission schedule higher. And with that, I was actually getting consistently less advice, less guidance. It was always a response to an inquiry from me.
Right.
Never a proactive, hey buddy, just want to let you know that the market's turning. We should get ahead of this, right?
Right.
So that was probably my first one. That's probably a boring answer, but that was probably my first bad investment.
That's so boring. Okay, let's spice this up.
But that boring answer cost me about $75,000 in my first 3 years, and arguably your early years are.
So of the money that you gave him, and you were finally realized, okay, you're not great.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get to take money away from him, or
did
he
so
just
I didn't lose it. I didn't lose it all, but I did end up losing from every dollar invested. First of all, I lost time, and time value of money matters. Mm-hmm. Second of all, when I finally did move, the problem is when you're invested with institutional investments, like a Vanguard or American funds or something like that, if you're going to transfer brokerages and you don't stay in that institutional investment, then you get to repay for a new commission, right? You do take the loss as you transfer. If you stay within that group, then you're typically okay. But so real money, I lost roughly $75,000 in a 3-year period of time, separate of what I could have earned, separate of what it would be worth now, right? So it was a pretty expensive lesson, especially early on, because it was in my mid-20s, and that's a whole lot of money to most people in their mid-20s.
Well, yeah,
most anyone, right?
Absolutely.
So that was probably my first one. At about the same time, the more exciting ones are I decided that I was a young entrepreneur, and I think a lot of people will resonate with this one in that. I think the American dream is to be all you can be and do whatever you want. And I kind of envision myself as I'm smart enough and I know enough people that I can kind of find investments and get in on them. So I decided, like so many people, I should invest in bars. Bars and restaurants would be
bars and restaurants.
Yeah,
Ta-da!
bars and restaurants would be a good, horrible investment.
And you
in
were
most
already
cases.
a lender, right?
Oh yeah. I'm definitely a lender now. So I've got some excess cash, and of course I don't want to put my money with boring old Ron, who I should have put my money with.
Poor Ron.
Right.
He's just sitting back.
He's sitting back there laughing.
Just laughing his ass off.
Because he knows he's right. And I've given him this. You know what I did appreciate about Ron with all these bad investments is he's like the older smart guy that understands I'm an experiential learner.
Like the puppy that can't stop jumping.
Him telling me it's not going to work.
No.
He needs me to just crash and burn.
He's
math,
like, we can make this a lot
like,
easier. You can just write me a check for
That's
75 grand and I'll rip it up in front of you. I'll throw it out the window for you.
Yeah, toast to you, Ron.
I know, right?
This is I'm imagining this is wine. 1 second.
One second.
So anyways,
Such a nerd.
I get into bars and restaurants.
Okay, but like how? So like meet somebody and it's like,
Yeah,
hey,
so
I've got this great
really
bar
funny.
concept.
It's going to go into a lesson learned on the bar side, but most of the time when you think about bars and restaurants, most of the time, look at how long they on average stay open, right? Like most bars and restaurants do not stay open for 5 years, let alone a year.
Correct.
It's a big deal to make a year. And that doesn't mean that they're even profitable. There's too much skimming, waste in foods, service. The service industry is just very difficult.
It's brutal.
So you've got some young entrepreneur that has a great concept, right? And they're a vibrant person that sells you their great concept. And this concept, you're like, oh man, that would be awesome. I would go to that bar.
Yeah.
And then they of course slide in that they're looking for investors, and then you're the guy that has a little bit of cash. And so
what was the concept that you were sold
Which
on?
one? I lost money in lots of bars and restaurants.
The first bar.
So Austin has 6th Street.
Okay.
So there was a bar down in 6th Street, and it was going to be this another live music venue, which is kind of like bringing more water to the ocean when it comes to Austin and 6th Street.
Yeah.
Except the location, which I didn't investigate enough, was not really on 6th Street. It was, the address was, but you had to go down a small alley to get to the door.
Oh. Well, you could have marketed as a speakeasy. Hello.
Which, if I had a marketing team at the time, maybe that would have worked. But clearly this bar did not have this marketing team. On top of this, what I was unaware of at the time, because I did not ask enough questions, which is a recurring event in my life. Details. At least for the losses, it's usually that I didn't ask enough questions and wasn't inquisitive enough or didn't know enough about it.
Didn't know what to ask.
Right. I was attempting to catch a falling knife. What I did not know at the time was that there was a first round of investors that had burned through all their money, and they were trying to keep the bar open. It wasn't a new bar.
No.
So it was reinvesting.
I feel like they should have to tell you that.
You would think. Right? You would think.
Like, is that wrong? Is that bad business?
I think it's absolutely unethical behavior.
Okay.
But it also was a question, a little bit more investigation on my side. If I had just fucking driven up there and see which is an hour and a half away instead of.
You never saw it?
And, I saw when it was closing down because I want to see if I could grab something. I did see it when it was shutting down.
Is that what you meant by the falling knife?
Yeah, it was falling. Yes, absolutely.
Oh my God.
You can laugh at me all you want, but yeah, this is real life. And here's what's even more sad about this story.
That just blows my mind because that's just not you. Like,
Well,
it just to not go up there though.
So my strength is that as a D personality, I'm an optimist, and I also DI. I also have a high trust in people, which makes me a target. It's a weak link too. So for the record, I've learned a damn lesson. So if you ask me if I'm my best, the answer is fucking no.
No.
Okay. No, it's not going to happen. But especially early on in my life, and I think if you look back on a lot of young people, you get a little jangle in your pockets. Like, look at YouTube or TikTok or Facebook and look at these idiot kids. I love that
TikTok has come up twice today.
Look at these idiot kids that take piles of money and they burn it. Or these stupid ass rappers that are in strip clubs with piles of money and just handing out bricks of money to the guy next to them. And they think this is cool.
It's really cool for those around.
It's not freaking cool. It's just stupid. But it just goes back to people that are new money. And I for sure am a new money person, right? I don't come from wealth. My dad and mom have good incomes, but I didn't come from wealth.
Yeah.
It goes back to if you don't learn it or get taught it, you're going to have to experience it. And usually it's a lot of falling along the way. So I did know one of the investors and I trust that guy implicitly and he's a good guy.
Okay.
So he also lost all of his money in this deal.
Okay. So at least you went down together.
Oh yeah. In flames. And we talked about it.
That's good for the relationship.
It's great for the relationship. Or it's really bad. But what's really funny though, the same guy, so they put this into a good twist too. We also own a restaurant up in Austin together, the same guy. And that restaurant's been open for over 10 years. And I get a check every single quarter without exception forever. Like it's been.
Does it start with a P?
No.
Or a T?
No. No.
It's not PTs?
No. PTs? No, I don't own a strip club. And if I did, I would not admit it.
Hey.
No, I'm a small investor in a burger joint up in Austin. Oh, cool. And that burger joint's been in Texas Monthly as top 25 burger multiple times.
Can we advertise it?
Doesn't matter.
If I were the marketing
I'm a
person,
minority owner. I'm a limited partner. And so it's one of those deals where I have zero operational oversight. It's just I gave money up front, totally silent partner. And I just get a check. So if I hadn't experienced the bad deal there, he wouldn't have brought me into the good deal because he felt like, holy shit, Josh, I'm sorry I got you in this.
That's
and
cool.
It's paid dividends. It's paid for the bar that I lost.
Has it really?
Oh, multiple times.
When did you invest in this burger place?
The bar was probably when I was 28. I'm 41. The restaurant was probably when I was 30. So the restaurant's been open for 12 years, probably 11,
That's
12
amazing.
Years. Oh yeah, I'm crushing it. So I think the point is that, there were some basic, simple things I could have done, like further understand the business model, why they were looking for investors. Like, that's a really great question to ask. Like, why do you need money? Like, think about that. A good business plan can get a bank loan. A good business plan can get a bank loan.
Can they though?
Small business loans, SBA loans. Now you have to have cash to put into it. So there should be a down payment.
Okay.
But think about this, like, now that I'm a loan officer and I understand risk better, who is more likely to foreclose with zero experience? Somebody that has $0 in the house that they bought, or somebody that has 50% down on the house that they bought? Who's going to probably lose their house more likely?
Zero?
Yeah. So guess what? It works the same in fucking business. If somebody has zero of their own money into it.
You want your own. Like, what are you going to put into this?
Right. But you don't ask those questions when you're young.
What are they going to do? So they're just going to run it? So the person with the idea is just going to run it.
I'm the idea guy. I'm the brilliant guy. I'm the IT guy.
And I'll be here every day.
I'm going to work here every day. I'm going to bring sweat equity to it. I need my investors to bring money into it. So you now have somebody that you're investing in that doesn't have cash, which means it brings questions up. Are they good financially? Are they a great operator? Or are they just a great dreamer? Right? So invest in my business, invest in me, but I don't have any experience ever, looking at track records and pedigrees and things like that. Like, it'd be one thing if you were you literally for the last 15 years have been running a restaurant,
right? Not
the boss, but you're the operator. So you know the ins and outs of it. And then you've got a great concept. You're going to go do that concept in the same space. So you're an expert of the subject matter. You know how to run the cost, the people.
But still, I think I still think you have
but
to have
please
your
put
own.
some freaking
You
money
need to
up.
put some
Yes.
money. Like, we're
or
just
if I'm gonna put up my money, I get more of the ownership because there's more risk, in my opinion. So that was something that from the bar and restaurant perspective, and I've probably, I don't want to exaggerate, I think I've lost 1, 2, 3 bars. I've lost 2 restaurants. So those are.
So you've invested in 7 and 1 is still around?
Oh no, I've still got half or so, 5 or so around probably right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
5 are still open and operating and paying dividends. And if I look at the overall return from those 5, I'm probably close to even. But that's still a loss.
Yeah.
Because if I had just taken the damn money 12 years ago and put it with fucking boring Ron, I would have more money and less heartache and less headache, right?
How many investors were in the first bar?
That I know of in the second round, 7. I don't know how many were in the first round.
Lot.
Well, here's the problem. It went down in flames within 30 days of my my check went over. It was closed before the first month's
What did they do
P&L.
with the money?
They went to pay back bills that they were behind on with the idea of the cash influx would be enough. They were doing all these promotions to get more people into this bar. And I forget what happened, but there was something, it wasn't a disruption like this, obviously, but there was a disruption where I think it was actually weather related. I think it was one of those weird seasons where there was normally a whole lot of activity in the time of year, but there was rain. And so that was, it's a bullshit answer, but it was,
but that was,
I shouldn't have put in that one bar, the first one was a $35,000 check. That literally disappeared within 30 days. That's how bad it was.
I'm sweating just thinking about it. Yeah. Like, this is why, like,
make fun of me. It's okay.
I mean, I have to deflect. So it's like giving me the most anxiety ever.
Another one that I did, no names, no people, because the people are awesome people that I invest with. Again, I've always tend to invest in the people.
Right.
Because I trust the people and they would never do anything to hurt me, at least the people I've invested in. And to this day, there's not one person I can look back and think they intentionally tried to screw me.
It wasn't a scam.
No, I've never been.
It was just
I know of. I've never been scammed.
It was just a
bad business choice.
A bad business choice,
right?
Or a bad.
But here's another example. Like, I invested in a taco restaurant in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Like, bring more sand to the beach, please. Right. I mean, let's call it what it is. Why I invested in a taco.
There's a theme
here. Right. Like, we don't need more tortillas in San Antonio, Texas. It was not a good business choice. So it lasted for 2 years, 3 years was open, but I never got $1 out of it, and I think that check was $100,000.
So why? So I'm going to keep asking the question because I think this is where I think this is the interesting part.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I'm a gambler.
Okay.
And I'm a serial entrepreneur because,
like when you're being
ego.
hit up.
Let's add an ego.
Okay. So when you're being hit up, right? And is that how it works? Like, someone is like, hey, you're having dinner with somebody and they're like, oh, by the way, so I have this like restaurant that I want to open. Yeah. What do you think? Like,
yeah, that's pretty much how probably half of those went. Like, no joke. And it's nothing negative. I can't say anything negative about it. It's like, I am a eternal optimist. And if I believe in something, like, yeah, dude, like that, you sounds like you're onto something. And then at some point, would you be interested in being a silent partner? And it's like, I don't know. Let me see the deal, which another lesson you learn.
Yeah. Projections
are projections. And it's kind of like stats. You can torture the numbers to say whatever the hell you want them to say. So most of the projections of a business pitch, not just bars and restaurants, but other businesses I've been part of, the projections were never hit. Even close. Especially in the time frame by which they were supposed to.
It always takes longer.
Like, not, or never happens. Right? Like, one of the things that I'm really clear about, and I'll list through my top takeaways here at the end, but there are ops people and there are sales people. And if you don't have both at a company, it's going to fail.
Yeah,
you can't have a great salesperson and not know how to run the numbers. They can be the most personality ever and draw
Get all the business.
And they're the same person that gives away all the fucking alcohol, right? Because they love everybody. They're just not a good business person. And and you can have, push the numbers around nerd that is amazing at cutting corners and costs, but if they can't draw a crowd for whatever or get the product sold, you'll be bankrupt because there's no revenue coming in. So bars and restaurants were pretty damn expensive for me. I will never invest in another bar and restaurant ever.
Do you want to have dinner tomorrow night? I have this great idea.
I'm sure you do. I will never invest in another bar and restaurant ever.
Ever?
Ever.
What if you open one?
I have a close third one though. I invested in movies.
What kind of movies?
As in big production movies that you can find on Netflix, and you can find
good. I didn't know where we were going there for a second.
Well, Christy and I have made movies before, but that's our private store.
And we are the star in this new business.
Star, director, cinematographer,
in this
editor,
case, you can be everything.
Editor, yes.
So you're into movies. Okay, all right.
Christy, I love you. I'm sorry. She's gonna delete everything tonight.
and that you can add that to the list of failed investments. So too soon.
When it comes to movies, though, so for real, I invested in movies, and it was cool. It was a cool experience because I got to meet some really cool actors that you would actually know.
Okay. Yes, I was going to be an extra one time.
You were going to be an extra one time. Yep.
I'm not made for the extra scene.
You're the star.
I mean,
or at least the co-star.
Or at least the co-star. Or at least the co-star.
But yeah, so what did I? So I'm coming literally out at the time of bars and restaurants of I learned some lessons. I'm not gonna do that shit again. And I actually get called by a past client who's a wicked smart guy, who I have a ton of respect for. And this guy's an attorney. And one of his clients that he's representing is doing movies, and they kind of figured out they're trying to apply the process, and he's a process guy, trying to apply the process to movie production, because this is about the time frame where everything is going to Netflix and Hulu and all these different, just click, right? And the ability to sell to other countries, that he actually has already figured out and understands the ability to get your movie to a distributor in Japan, get your movie to a distributor, and he knows the people that makes those contacts. And they'd actually successfully done 2 movies already. And I saw the profit and the speed of the profit in those first 2 movies, right? So they wanted to, the first thing you got to do is replicate. So did movie 1, movie 2 worked out too. They made the same profit in both.
So these are straight to DVD or straight to TV movies?
Well, remember, there's no DVDs anymore, right?
Yeah, straight to Wi-Fi.
Streaming, right? Straight to streaming.
To Wi-Fi. Yeah.
So what they were trying to do was, now we've replicated. Now we want to duplicate, because they have a finite amount of money, so they can do a few movies at a time. But they had now created the director, the producers, they had everything lined up down to a science. And now they're trying to do 5 at a time or 7 at a time.
So what kind of company is that?
I think it's a good company.
Because
what type of company? They just created a full-scale production company.
So in a big product, like a
Paramount.
Okay. So Paramount's like, we're going to make this movie, then we need to find our director, and we need to find our whatever.
So what they did is they were approaching it from the cost-cutting side of use the same producer, this
is our people,
the same editor, the same filmographer, the same.
Go find the
So
actors.
now you can give them all salaries, because they work for you, and all you're bringing in is actors, and the actors were doing it for no salary. They were doing it for a percentage of the royalties.
Oh, okay.
So they're betting on themselves, right? Because that's why some of these cool actors were getting involved, is they already have a name and a following. So it's pretty good likelihood that it was going to take off.
Okay.
Because somebody that's watched X actor for 20 years now is probably going to watch X actor again. So they were approaching it from a really cool point of view. So I love the business plan. I love the operator. I did not know the salesperson, right? I did not know that side of it. But I knew the operator, high integrity, high trust person. So the bad investment that turned out good is because what I learned in the first one, which is, projections are projections. What is the guarantee? Right?
Is there a guarantee?
This is the first time I actually brought in a written guarantee that I'd get 100% return of investment within 2 years.
Like you said, I'll do it if you guarantee. Really?
And yeah. And so the answer was I did get back 100% of my investments.
That's cool.
Right? But it didn't take off with the projections that I was expecting in the first year.
So once again, the projections.
Well, I'm waiting 2 years. And what it really came down to why it didn't is the first two movies they had done was kind of on that leading edge of, content creation. Like think about how many movies and series Amazon has created, how many movies and series Netflix has created. So they're on the leading edge of it. So those guys are gobbling up content everywhere.
Yeah.
But come a year or two into it now, it's not the leading edge. So now you're just one of the rest. And so the profitability is driven down immensely,
wow.
right? But here's the reality. Like, what the hell did I have any business do investing in a movie? Like, let's just be honest. Like I have, other than watching them, I have zero expertise. Zero, right?
You like movies?
I do like
it's
movies.
A hobby.
My kids like movies, right? I don't get to watch them anymore because I work too much. But it's just one of those things that is why it ended okay.
So you made your money back. So you did this for 2 years.
Right, but I will tell you this that much as well. It was the only reason I got it back is because the character of the person I invested in. So,
wow. So he gave you the money back.
It was a written guarantee that he
had to.
He didn't have to. Like, what's one of the things I put down is guarantees are only as good as the person that's backing him. Right? Like
you could have sued him though, right?
Protected by an LLC.
Oh.
So limited liability. So if that production goes bankrupt, he didn't have to do anything.
I like this
so
guy.
So it's a great human being. And what's cool is that those movies are actually now paying dividends.
That's
it just took 2.5 years longer.
Right.
And I believe in the velocity of money. So if I want to do an investment, I want to make money quick and then churn it and quick because the returns are higher the faster you turn it. So waiting for a payoff that's 3 or 5 or 7 years away better be a big freaking payoff that I really understand and believe in.
I was going to say
which goes back to real estate and commercial. Right.
Yes. Like you can like not just invest money in, but like invest your heart and soul and like, this is something that you can see out.
Yeah. So my wife told me not to invest in the movies. I did invest in the movies. It didn't get me a wild return, but I did get all my money back. So I don't know if that's a win or a loss. Again, it's still a loss of 2 years. 2 years. Of $200,000. So time value of money. If I had made, 6-7% on just those 2 years only.
But here's the other piece. Did what you did for them, did that $200,000 help them to get where they are now and to be making profits?
Sure.
See.
Small piece. I mean, they're fine on their own. I hope they watch. In fact,
but it got them.
I mean, truly, this guy is one of my favorite past clients of all time, and one of the best.
Like the $200,000 had to do something.
Yeah,
it had to do something.
They bridged the gap.
There you go.
They bridged the gap,
and that's what they needed.
Right, but if we're trying to teach,
you're a philanthropist.
that is a better way to look at it.
Yes.
The real answer there is, and I've said this on a different podcast that. When the second I wrote the check, even though there was a written guarantee, I truly expected 100% chance I would not get my money back. Like I wrote the check thinking this is a flyer stock. I wrote the check thinking I just put this on black and the roulette wheel is spinning. Like that's what I wrote. And I'll also point out that at no time ever have I invested more than 10% of my net worth in any one thing ever. So I was willing to risk 10% of my net worth at a time on individual things, but never more than that. And I think where a lot of people make mistakes is, on their restaurant, they put 80% of their net worth into an investment on a shitty investment because they're going for it, right? So we'll get into some of those lessons here in a second. So let's keep on going for more bad choices made by Josh Sigman.
Bad choices with Josh Sigman.
My personal experience is I'm not a commodities investor or trader. And so my personal experience with buying gold and Bitcoin, I'm sure somebody's going to comment and say I'm an idiot. Bring it on.
You're an idiot.
My personal,
I'll get the party started.
my personal experience is that those are bad investments.
Bad
right?
investments. Okay.
So the investment,
We actually did have somebody comment on our Instagram page about Bitcoin.
What did they say?
I can't remember, but it was not
Consequential.
It was like, Bitcoin's been great for me. I don't know, talk about something like that.
Okay, cool. So if you invested in it early, I'll just say it. If you invested in it 10 years ago, you're a millionaire. Great. Basically, I think it was 16 or 17 is when kind of the rage hit the news. I think it was 2017. Everyone could become a millionaire in Bitcoin. It was the year that like Bitcoin went up by like 10,000% in a year.
Yeah. I still don't even know what it is.
Which is a really bad time to freaking invest at the top. And that's exactly what I did. I invested at the top with Bitcoin. I invested at the top with gold. My boring financial planner told me I shouldn't do it. I actually asked him both times. He said, "No, I really wouldn't do that." He said, "But I'm encouraging you."
That's my cue.
This is where he's a super sly guy. I mean, it makes him a lot of money because every time he's right, then I give him more money, right?
More money, yeah.
But I literally remember sitting down with him for lunch at Sushi, and I said, "Hey, so think about investing in Bitcoin. You know, I feel like, you know, maybe if there's a little bit more legs, even if it went up by only 50%, like it'd be a good investment. Like think about how stupid of a rationale that, because it's not likely for it to go up by 50, any investment to go up 50% in the next week, like what was happening. Now Tesla had a hell of a run this year.
Tesla tag.
A hell of a run. But those are still flyer stocks. So I'm trying to put out there is you're still putting a lot of money on black or a lot of money on red. Yeah. And you're just fucking hoping and crossing your fingers and like, please be right. Because, you know, when it comes to commodities, one of the things I don't like about those two specifically, gold and Bitcoin, is you're really you're betting against the U.S. You're betting against the economy. You're betting against like good stuff in the world. Those things, gold and Bitcoin, do well when traditional investments, when the world is falling apart, when you know, when people think the end of the world's happening, the first thing they do is go buy gold, right?
Gold. Yeah, what we talked about.
So yeah, it's kind of like if you're a gambler and you go to Vegas, everyone hates the person that bets with the house. Like if you're at the craps table, please don't come. Like the don't come line versus the come line. The don't pass versus the pass line.
So something on my bucket list is to be standing around a craps table, like with everybody cheering and it going crazy.
It's a lot of fun.
I know, I've never done that before.
So the cool thing about craps is exactly that. You're all playing together. The house is going to win most of the time, but everyone's betting together. But it's one of the few games that you can actually bet with the house. So you can be the one person on the sideline standing there like this with your arms crossed, literally hoping that everyone else loses their money, because if everyone else loses their money, you win. That's what Bitcoin and gold is like in my book.
Okay. All right. I like the analogy.
Yes, people have made money in gold. Yes, people make money in commodities. It's a timing thing. Right. But I'm not a commodities investor. Most people listening to this are not commodities investors. And when you're trying to bet on timing versus an overall average over 100 years, you're betting on something that's, temporal. Short time based. It's just in my opinion, a bad bet. It's a bad bet. Yeah. Now, do I have some Bitcoin? Yes. Do I have some gold? Yes. Why? A hedge. Yeah. And it sure as hell isn't a lot. Like it's enough to annoy me. In fact, let's see how my rate of return has been on Bitcoin since inception. Let's just see right now.
Let's see.
Because I know I've got an app here that will just tell me.
This
is where you put on the music right now. I'm going off lib here. Bitcoin. Oh, there it is.
What kind of music?
It's under Coinbase. It's thinking the circle of death is coming up. Okay, so
like
lifetime.
It's going to tell you your.
Oh, by the way, this year, guess what? Is the portfolio balance up or down this year? This year. You're betting against, yes, because I bet against the world.
It's crisis time.
It's crisis time, so I'm up. So right now I'm up to only being down half of my investment lifetime value.
Well, there you go.
Jesus.
There you go. Okay, so like when you are in, do you watch Shark Tank?
Sometimes.
Oh,
hold on. News.
Really
Bitcoin
fun.
Price tanks by 15% in 10 minutes.
That's cool.
Literally the news on May 12th. Bitcoin price tanks by 15% in 10 minutes. Horrible effing investment. This just makes me angry. It's real, folks. It's real.
So in these other investments, are you like, what is your mentality when you go into them? Are you like, you're like, I like this bar. I'm going to do this. I like this taco place. I'm going to do it. What's the end game? Like, what are you looking for?
So it's two answers. If I'm honest with myself, looking back, the first one is getting a boring old 5 or 6% return is not fun early on, right? So you're trying to catch the home run. Like their pitch is coming in. You're trying to get a home run here. You're trying to get a home run there because it feels like you're making more progression, right? So I'll just use a great real estate investment I did one of my first ones that I made a ton of money on, right? I think I talked about my Mamacita house. So I bought a flip properties on the west side of San Antonio.
You and Dan, right?
No, that's by myself. That was the duplex that we did. But there was a Mamacita house on the west side of San Antonio.
What's a Mamacita house?
It was tiny little, I think it was not even 1,000 square feet. It was like 950 square. Like, you just call it Mamacita house.
Like an efficiency.
Somebody that died in it. Christy was pregnant with Aubrey, and we were going to go in there and strip it clean. But the house was fine. Somebody had died in it. It stunk like a dead person.
No.
Ask Christy. This actually happened. So I bought the house for $57,000, I think. It took me $7,000 to repaint it, refloor it. That was it. I think I repainted, refloored, countertopped. I think that was all I did, literally. So $7,000 in. I sold it for $91,000 90 days later.
Okay.
But my wife had, when she walked in, because she was going to help me pick out the colors, she's pregnant. Pregnant women don't have good stomachs.
Did you want to do this, or did you?
This is the beginning. No, this is the beginning of HGTV. We're going to do this. We're going to flip properties. We're going to make lots of money.
It's the beginning when we were married and we still liked each other and wanted to do things together.
Actually, I'll have you know, the best thing for my marriage ever was COVID-19. We are hanging out all the time, and we actually enjoy each other's company. It's awesome.
That's why the movie company's afloat, right?
Right. Thanks. Drink some more of your coffee. I suspect that she's drinking Everclear. The words
it's been very
you bring.
good for me and Randy as well. It has been good.
But where was he going with this? My point was, what was the question?
What's the reason?
Oh, so the first one was returns, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to turn $65,000 and $91,000 in 90 days. Like, that felt substantial. That's legit. Substantial. That's a lot of money.
It is, yeah.
So now I've got this $30,000. Well, if I could go buy a bar or restaurant that might be able, based on their projections, to kick off $1,000 a month to the investor, $12,000 a year on a $30,000 investment, it seems like, okay, I'll do a few of these and that'll pay for my retirement, right? So the first one was return based. The second one, though, is I cannot deny ego, right? Like, I fancied myself as a serial entrepreneur. There are good ones, there are bad ones. I am an average one. What I've learned about myself is I'm really good at the areas of my expertise, and I leave the rest to the rest, right? And it took 10 years to
get it out of your system.
Get it out of my system. But a serial entrepreneur that has had bigger losses and bigger games, our friend Chris Hockert, right? And he'll talk about it all day long.
He should be sitting here with you.
Oh, dude. In fact, Chris Hockert, please chime in. He had an investment. I probably shouldn't say the names of the investments. Anyways, he's a guy. Let me use two guys. Chris Hockert and Byron Riddell are savants to me. Okay. Byron has been a friend of mine for 20 years. I really haven't talked to him in 10, but he's got the same birthday as me. We're just friends. Anyways, Byron calls me up one time 15 years ago after I had taken some losses on some bars and restaurants. Said, "Hey, I just bought a piece of property in the floodplain of River Road. This is what you were telling me. I want you to invest in tree houses on River Road."
Yes, that's is the what it story.
Was. Yes.
I'm like, as soon as you said that.
So I'm like, let me get this straight. You bought flood property and you're going to you want me to invest with hundreds of thousands of dollars to give you tree houses.
Tree houses.
Well, damned if the guy 15 years later has tree houses rented out for $300 a night.
And teepees.
When he asked me about those, I was like, that's the dumbest thing ever. So they've got,
so legit.
But guess what his background was?
Tree houses and teepees?
Construction. He built custom homes.
Oh, there you
So
go.
he actually knew the cost of construction. He knows how to repair them. He knows property
What about
management.
a floodplain though? How do you overcome
He was in the fucking tree. The flood goes below it. That's why he did tree
But
houses.
the teepees aren't.
TPs are very cheap, and when they wash away, he can
just
rebuild
go
them.
away. Okay.
In 1 week's time, the amount of money he
Clearly, I'm not
makes,
in construction.
the amount of money he makes per week on those TPs can pay to replace a TP in a week. And he keeps them rented out for months at a time.
Yes,
right?
I know. I tried to.
So Byron's a savant. His wife, ex-wife Katie Rydell, they did that together for a decade. Like they're just
That's super
they
cool.
touched gold, right? Chris Ockert, I don't know if you guys remember back in San Antonio, there's a property that there's a big mulch pile that caught on fire, right? And it caught on fire and it stayed lit for like 2 months. They couldn't put it out. So that property was like the devil's kiss. You don't touch that property. And he's like, well, I'll buy it because I can buy it at a discount and I'll figure out a way to, get rid of the mulch on it. And then I'll have this property I can sell. And I was like, he literally asked me, Josh, you want to invest in this with me? And I said, absolutely.
He
hell
still
no.
has it to this day.
Well, what he did is because this guy is really a serial entrepreneur.
For real.
With big losses and big gains. Buyers had big losses and big gains, but they
Yes.
understand the risk. They are okay with those big losses and big gains.
Yeah.
He got some local cement companies that use the mulch to fire up their as the fuel for their engines, the combustion for their engines.
The creativity.
And they paid him to take 18-wheelers to go deliver him the mulch. And they cleared the whole property with a guy named Waylon, Chris's buddy Waylon, and they made a big company out of this. And they've got the property that's worth millions. It's worth millions.
Yes.
So
it's crazy.
So, but what is Chris an expert at? Property values.
Yeah.
He's a realtor. So he looked at the dirt as the dirt. He didn't care about the obstacle was how do I get rid of this crap so I can have my dirt.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it as I'm buying a mulch pile. It goes back to the three of us, the areas that we've made money in, right? Like I'm still an owner of 15 companies. 5 of them I have a direct daily or weekly running of the company role. Yeah. Right. Guess which ones are making the most money or the most viable are the ones that I am involved in that I understand. Which makes sense. And it does make sense. And so, you want to help out people, you want to make your money work for you, but it goes back to a very good, firm understanding of the underlying business and what's really required. Yeah. And I will tell you with Chris's example with Waylon and they call it the burning bush now, 2 years of his life, he was all in on making that deal work. Yeah. Which is another lesson I wrote down, which is the operator, is this a side hustle for the operator or is this their passion project? Yeah. If it's a passion project and it's got logic and reasoning and money and a sound business plan behind it, it might work. It has a better chance of working. Yeah. If it's a great idea without the other two, it's not going to work. If it's a bad idea without passion, it probably doesn't work. If it's a great plan without a great passionate person at the helm, it usually doesn't work.
So interesting.
It all has to come together for companies to really take legs. So that's another bad investment. Let's talk about some real estate deals I've lost money on because we covered bad stockbroker. I talked about some bad bars. I talked about bad movies. Talks about some companies, talked about gold and Bitcoin. Let's finish up with my bad real estate investments. Okay. And then I want to get into the real quick, just bam, 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 lessons I learned.
Okay, yeah, because you've listened. I mean, the stories have totally intertwined all the lessons too.
Yeah, so I'll be able to rattle them off. But I've in all the real estate investments I've ever done, I've only lost on 3. And that's actually a good number. The really number. Strange one is though the 3 that I've lost on are all in the last 2 years. I did not lose on a single investment ever prior to 3 years ago in the last 3. And I looked at it, I was like, well, what the hell's happening? Because I questioned myself about that. And what the answer is I'm doing a lot more real estate deals. A lot more. So what happened with doing a lot more is my personal oversight in those deals diminished.
Got it.
Right? Yep. So I'll give you 3 perfect examples. So one investment I got into, I have done a lot of them, is hard money loans. So hard money loan is somebody can't traditionally qualify for a mortgage or they just need money to flip a property. They're willing to take on an ugly rate, 10, 12% rate with a couple points on it. So for outside looking in as, putting my money to work, I can make 10 to 12% in a 90 day to 6 month period of time.
Short time. Yeah.
It's good movement. I understand the property values. I understand the location. I understand the risk. It's in general, most of the time, a good risk for me. I got comfortable with a client and I broke my own rules. So one things that you should do if you're funding repairs is you should have a draw schedule. And so what's supposed to happen is they prove the works performed by pictures and written, and then you refund them the money, not you front them the money. And this guy and I had made a lot of money together in a lot of deals.
Say that one more time. You said you refund and not front.
Yeah, you don't front the money. Okay. Bad fucking choice. Okay. Well, I gotten comfortable with this guy because we'd done a lot of deals together, made a lot of money together. Him on the flip side, me on the hard money side. And so he asked me this one time, something. He's like, we've been doing all these draws. This was probably the one of 2 times I've been taken advantage of. So he asked me, he said, hey, you know how I work. Rather than coming to you every week, and I'm really busy in my current work at the time. He said, why don't you just, here's the budget. Why don't you just give me the money? I'll take care of all of it, and I'll owe it to you at the end. Well, what I didn't know is that the guy had literally become a degenerate gambler, literally. And so I paid for this house in cash. Now I'm the lien holder, so I do technically own I can take the property. I don't own the property. I can take the property. I fronted him about $60,000 to do repairs. And then he comes to me 3 months later and crying in my office. And he literally says, I'm really sorry, Josh. I lost it all gambling.
Shit.
And I'm sitting there on the table, like, first of all, I'm like, what the hell did I miss? I feel bad for the kid. He's a kid. He's, 10 years my younger. So I'm dealing with this. What the hell did I miss?
Wow.
Question mark next to a, where did this go wrong with you? I feel bad for you. Coupled with this, I'm going to beat your ass and kill you and take your innards out. Yeah. Because I've been taken advantage of. Like, how dare you?
Yeah.
And all those emotions went through me.
Jeez.
Anyways, I still have the property. I've probably got 301,000 into it because not only did I have to put back in another 60,000, but he had the value.
So the 60 is just gone.
He doesn't have the money. I could sue him, but I'd be squeezing a bean for money
and paying and paying and paying and paying.
Right. So I've finally gotten to a point, but he undervalued the repairs required. He overvalued what would sell for. And so now I'm in for about $301,000 in a house that's probably worth $200,000. And the anger and effort and time I've put into this for the last 2 years now.
God, it's been so long.
It's been 2 years. And so that was a really, really bad one. Lesson learned, I broke my rules. Like, don't break your freaking rules. That you put things in place to protect you and them. That are fair.
Are these rules that you have come up with over time, or you've been taught?
Yeah, but there's also basic ideas like don't give somebody. Would you ever give somebody that's not your family member a blank check? Would you even give a family member a blank check?
I mean, probably.
Don't ever invest ever. You're not allowed. I'm your no person. The answer is no.
Okay? Literally, I leave my door unlocked. I'm like,
so learn from me. I'm telling you these. I'm telling you these landmines that are definitely going to blow your legs off if you don't listen to me. Okay.
This is why.
And I'm good at this piece, and I'm a great real estate investor. And I broke my rules and I lost my ass. So to be continued. I'll tell you how much I actually lose in total when this is all said and done. But I'm expecting north of 100,000 on a piece of real estate that's not worth 200,000.
Is it? Are you going to sell it? You have something in there?
So we're now within 4 weeks of putting it on the market.
It's still you're still working on it?
Yeah. Because it's just one of those things that got worse and worse and worse. Like, you start to frame up the walls only to find out that it's not square. Why is it not square? Because the foundation's not good. Then you go into the foundation, you find out that the plumbing's broken. It just goes on and on. So, that's a worst case scenario. And I can tell you I've made millions of dollars in real estate, but
so is it $100,000 loss? Selling it, or do you keep it and put renters in it?
I haven't decided yet. I don't own it yet. So I'm going to have to foreclose it. What will probably end up happening is I'm going to have to have him sell it, pay back as much as he can. And I'm going to do a personal, I'll probably do a lien against him. A judgment against him is what I'll do in the small courts. Because what he did, I could literally put him in jail for.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. I don't think that's, he's a kid.
And he
have
showed
a really,
up in your office.
Yeah, he did. If
and
he keeps on doing the right thing through the end, he'll be okay. If he doesn't do the right thing, I'm gonna put him I'll put him to sleep forever.
Don't.
I'm joking. I put him in jail, but if I put him in jail as a kid, he's gonna go to sleep forever in jail. I promise you that. It's just, there's your emotion for you. Yes, I'm irritated. Yes, it's painful. It's painful, but it's real, right?
Real. Yes, money is emotional, as we've pointed out.
Second one I lost in investment was I bought a property. Again, goes back to a guy I've done lots of deals with. I'm clear he was not trying to screw me. I'm going to say it that way. I'm clear he was not trying to screw me.
That's a good starting point.
I trust that to be true. He was a realtor that I've done a lot of loans with. We've traveled together and he's hunted at my ranch. Like, we're close enough people like that, right? Well, he was not a real estate flipper himself. So he flips his first property on his own. He gets it all rehabbed, and he lets me know where the area is and what the price was for me to buy it as an investment property. I was looking to keep a long-term investment property. I liked the area. I thought I was helping him out. I knew I could get good rents on it, so I bought it. I didn't get an inspection of the property because I trusted him, right? Well, and he had hired a sub, and he trusted the sub. So again, it's not a him thing,
right?
But it's not his fault. It was his problem. Does that make sense? It's not his fault. It is his problem.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyways, I bought it, rented it out, got the rents he told me I was going to get. It's cruising along for a year. Everything's going great. And I'm literally thinking autopilot with my buddy Chris on property management. It's going to go on forever.
Done.
And a year later, I get a cease and desist order from the city. So this is 2 years ago. So I get a cease and desist order, April 2 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
No, it's 1 year ago, April last year. And it said, we're showing the electricity. We can see that you've done some repairs to this property without ever pulling permits. So I'm like, excuse me. So I call my buddy. We go down there. Well, unbeknownst to my buddy, the contractor who he instructed to cut as many costs as he could, did by not pulling permits and doing the. So
how'd they find out?
Probably to the front of it was, I think, you know what? They added on a porch to the front, so the frontage looked different. And I guess that they've got, I probably drive around with a camera and just look at every property every year. So anyways, long story short, what ended up happening was they literally did turn off the electricity. I had to kick the renters out. I had to refund their money, of course. And then on top of that, I had to rip out walls, rip out foundation, rip out what was already redone, and $35,000 of repair, 6 months of headache later, and 7 months of lost rent later. I finally got my COC, my certificate of occupancy, to allow renters to go in again. So I lost almost a year. Our friendship was challenged.
Right.
Wow. Because you questioned, did you screw me? And of course, I don't believe that to be true.
Right.
But it's just, that was a big loss. So moral of the story, a fucking $300 of inspection would have been worth it. Right. Like little things. It goes to, I got comfortable. I stopped doing some basic things that I know are important to do. And I'm in real estate, and I know to get inspections on new homes. I didn't get one. The third one was so interesting. I don't even have to go into the third one because it was truly the first time that I'd had a situation where we did everything right, but the comparables for what was going to be worth what we could sell for, at the end we were unable to get that number. And the cost estimate by not having at the time the right team to give a good walking through a house. Imagine like, this is going to cost about $35,000. I can stay within that budget for all these things. If that number's not spot on, basically what happened is it got pinched because my costs were higher. What I could sell for was lower. And so, I had lost 5 figures in that one too. So I've had, and that's the ones I came up with in 5 minutes before this episode. So when I say I've lost a lot of money, I've lost a lot of money. There's innumerable things I've done that are silly. So let's just focus on the lessons learned.
Yeah, let's
so I can feel better about myself. The way I kind of explain this to my wife is
one of my questions I have is, does Christy know all, like when you're going into an investment, are you like, this is what I'm thinking? Or is it like here's what I did?
So Christy, forgiveness, not permission. right?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
that's what I live by.
forgiveness, not permission. So Christy,
That's what I live by.
Christy, thankfully allows me to play and do what I do well, and it's worked out most of the time, clearly. But she does have the "what were you thinking" moments. Like she has definitely looked me in the eyes and literally like undressed me with her eyes, like, "You idiot," you know. But yeah, she's given me a lot of grace in those, and
that's good.
And so what I try to explain to her when we've talked about this is, I have a very expensive education. You know, I have about $1 million of education in how to make money and how to lose money.
Absolutely.
Right. So that's the way I look at it. So I would say if you're investing in any way, shape, or form, yes, you have to be willing to take the risk with the reward, but you have to understand if you're chasing returns ever, the risk is inherent. And it doesn't mean don't stop firing bullets. It just means learn and move on, right?
Yeah.
So here's my short list I wrote down. For number one, invest in who you know and who knows what the hell they're doing, right? Like, don't just, like when I'm going back to earlier stories, if I invest in people that had great vision,
right,
great ideas, but didn't know what the hell they were doing. That's what I mean. So it's great that I invest in people, but I want to in future only invest in people that I know, like, and trust, and are experts in their field.
Experts.
Right? Like if Byron asked me to do another TP, I will do a TP.
Tell him to call me too.
Yeah, call me, please. I will invest in with you, Byron. Number two is understand the numbers. I'm better at this than most, but a lot of people, they'll get a pro forma. You know, when you're an investor in anything, you're supposed to get a pro forma to tell you what the expected rates of return on. Mm-hmm. And I've watched people, because I've pitched people for businesses before too. And I've watched people kind of look through it, and you can literally see their eyes glaze over. And they don't have a clue what they're looking at.
You're right.
And so if that's you, like, ask a CPA to look at the numbers. Ask a financial planner to look at the numbers. Like, ask another business owner that's in that industry to look at the numbers and call bullshit or foul in one of the areas that are in there.
Yes.
Number three goes into that too, which is be super conservative with projections. Like, whatever the projections are, cut them in half. And if the numbers work at half or a quarter, you're probably okay.
Because what are they pulling the projections from?
Their ass.
Correct.
It's
like, based on what?
Well, in theory, a better business is based on what they accomplished in the same scenario with a proven concept. Like,
but if it's startup,
there's two different things, right? So think about restaurants. Chipotle is Chipotle.
Yeah.
So each individual store, you got a projection, right?
Yeah.
But if it's a new concept, new startup, new IT,
there's no
something.
There's no way to know. No way to know.
Right. Number four, proven track records of somebody on the team. So you don't want to have one person doing all of it, right? We going down to step lower is ops and sales. Both of them are needed. You need a great operator and a great salesperson. You need both of them at a minimum, if not another one or two people on the team.
Yeah.
But they've got to somebody's got to have a proven track record. Like, don't tell me you're great with numbers. Show me. Don't tell me you're great at sales. What have you actually sold of volume compared to peers, right? Mm-hmm. Individual ability to audit numbers. So Black Sheep Lodge, that restaurant that I'm a minority owner of up in Austin, the hamburger joint.
Oh, okay. You never said that name earlier.
Okay. It's Black Sheep Lodge.
Which you totally should be like shouting because you're an investor. So you want people to go there.
Black Sheep Lodge is pretty awesome.
I know the owner of this place.
Yeah, it's funny because, half the other owners don't know me.
Do they need a marketing rep? I mean, do they need some marketing?
Yeah. What I will tell you, again, lesson learned there that worked out, inadvertently, is something that my buddy David, who got me involved in the bar and that restaurant, put in there as a response to the first one, lesson learned. He's about 10 years older than me, and he's done more of these types of things. So I kind of learned a lot from him. But what he did is he put in there the ability for the investors to audit the numbers. And so as a result, we did actually fire one of the operators, one of the top 3 operator owners that have been with the company for 10 of 12 years. He was let go because the numbers didn't match up. They didn't jive, right?
Okay.
So that's not an accusation. I was not part of the auditing process, but the individual ability to audit the numbers as an investor with your own CPA, your own financial planner, with no recourse. Like, I want to see it. I want my person to run. At very least, ask questions. Like, if you're involved, why wouldn't that be an okay thing?
Sure.
If you're really an honest person, why wouldn't that be okay? Because if you miss a dot one way, you can miss a dot the other way.
Yeah.
right? Which could give more profitability to the company. So,
Oh,
but that's
so
super
true, yeah.
important. And so people that are reluctant to allowing you to audit the numbers, big freaking warning sign.
Big warning sign,
Number 7, personal lives can screw up investments. You know, I learned that from my gambler. I'll also tell you that people that are having affairs, like it's going to affect the business. I'm going to tell you that.
That goes back to the wheel of life.
Wheel of life in general, if you're not balanced in all areas.
Shit's messed up.
It is not
It's gonna spill
judgment. People
over.
make mistakes.
For sure.
People get divorced. People do stuff, right? But the more intimate knowledge you have of who's going to be running your investment, like I've invested in a chain of restaurants is one of my investments that was doing gangbusters for 3 years. And then he and his wife got into a very ugly, nasty divorce. He lost
sad.
probably 30 pounds from stress. Well, his attention was on the wife or ex-wife and kids, not on the company.
It's not the company.
And
so who's watching? Yeah.
so I still am an owner in that restaurant chain, but I haven't gotten a check for the last 7 years. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
Paying attention to people's personal lives. Guarantees, you know, if you can get a guarantee, but guarantees are only worth who's guaranteeing it, right?
Right.
Do they have the means? Like I actually audited, I asked for a copy of the proven financials to back up the guarantee. So it's something that I knew the guy had the money and he put it in writing with a legal contract.
I mean, that's
and
legit.
I got my check
And it worked.
2 years later, right? Inspectors on all properties. Jesus.
Just
Lord
get the
help me.
inspection.
Just get a damn inspection. $300, worth their weight in gold. And then making sure if we're going specifically to real estate, also really having somebody that's extremely knowledgeable and accurate with rehab costs. If you're going to get in that space, you have to be super.
That's the biggest risk, isn't it?
Both ways.
Not really, because you don't really know what's behind the walls, right? You don't know what you're going to find.
Right.
So,
but they better be overestimating, not underestimating,
for
right?
Sure.
So top takeaways for me, if I look back on the last 15 years of fuck ups, number 1 would be invest in what you know and understand. And if you don't understand it fully, like be super inquisitive.
Yes.
Like take the extra steps,
Or seek counsel.
read more, seek counsel, like be super.
Yeah.
If it's something you want to get into, cool.
Yeah.
But study it a lot before you put your money up, right? That one investment it's only good if you give me a check by the 30th of the month, which I've been involved in before.
Oh, it makes me squirm. I don't like that.
Then if you're not ready and comfortable, then don't do it. I will say as an asterisk, even if you commit verbally to an investment, you're not all in till you write the check. So I had one time where I had agreed to it. I got to the wire, my gut instinct, I just had something gnawing. I still wrote the check, and guess what? I lost. Right?
Don't you hate that when you know?
And then I did it. Yeah.
And you just do it anyway.
Right.
And then it's like, that's why.
Expensive lesson, but that goes together. 2 is be willing to lose it all. You know, as much sleep as I've lost very little compared to the checks I've written. Yeah. I literally have gone into all these investments truly expecting no return at all. Here's a check written, just like Bitcoin, just like gold, just like an individual flyer stock. It's something I want to bet on. I'm a gambler. I'm willing to lose the money. If you're not willing to lose it all, don't do it at all. Do not get involved. Just be with boring Ron. And be happier, right? And be happier,
That's
right?
Where I am.
And then number 3 is, I would say the biggest lesson I've learned, and this comes from Eric Kalla, who's another financial planner of mine, and Ron Anderson, from both of them, who I highly endorse both of them.
Yeah.
Highly endorse both of them, is you play to not lose, don't play to win when it comes to returns. Let me explain that for a second. I care more now as I've aged in not losing what I've got and my investments being there.
Always, yeah.
Then I care about getting an extra 2%. So I'm really proud of both of them is that in this crazy bad environment, as much as some people lost in the stock market over the last 90 days, and yes, it's rebounded a little bit, like I'm within 3% of where I was on January 1st. There's a lot of people that lost 10 or 20% and then got advice to sell at that time and then buy back, like pay taxes because they sold and then they're buying back in. Like, what I'm really proud of them is their strategy is to not lose my wealth.
Yeah.
Get to out earn inflation. It's not to make 20%.
I love that.
So those are
really
the things I think I've really learned over the years. Will I take other gambles? For sure.
For sure.
That is who I am, and I enjoy it. But will I lose again? Sure, I will.
And we'll
but I
do
hope
another
that helps.
episode to tell about it.
Right? Is that what you want to know? Have you embarrassed me enough?
You did so good.
Cool.
You did so good.
Well, if you
so
guys want to
entertaining.
learn more about the screw ups in my life, go ahead and write something down, comment, like, subscribe, share with your friends and
Share with
family.
your friends.
But Brandon, it's really great to have you back. And
You too. It's so good to see you.
God bless you all. Keep your hands clean. Stay away from people. Hug them from afar, but get your ass back to
Elbow
work.
bumps.
We
Boom,
need to
boom,
stimulate this economy a little
boom,
bit.
boom.
And this is Sigman Sense. Peace out.
Bye.